A lot of Redditors had mentioned that since I retrieved Faye's ring from the creepy dream catcher, it's possible that it's been cursed. After all, the ring was given back to me. It could be what's causing the new disturbances around my house. So Faye and I have decided to take the long trek back to Pikes Peak, from whence the evil ring came, and destroy it by throwing it into the mine at the top of the mountain. We've gathered a fellowship of 7 other people to help us upon this journey. Just kidding. But seriously, a lot of people have speculated that the ring is now the problem. I'm taking this into consideration, but Faye is not willing to part with it right now, seeing as how she just got it back. But if the entity seeking Faye did curse the ring and got me to break the dream catcher to retrieve it, it's even more clever than I could have anticipated. More on this if I decide to make a move. We had a professional carpet cleaning service come out yesterday and try to tackle the puke stain situation. The guy told me over and over, "That's not vomit. I can get vomit out." It took him a long time, but he finally managed to get most of the stain off the carpet in the living room and recommended we get checked out at the hospital. I told him that we already had. Some parts of the carpet are still spotted and ruined, so he gave me a discount. The wall in the stairwell is another story. The guy took one look at it and said we needed to paint it, but I insisted the stain had to be removed before doing so. He told me to strip and sand the wall, or he could come back and do it on his day off for a small fee. I told him I'd take care of it. He made an exorcism joke and left. I was not amused. Faye came home very excited yesterday. She got a promotion at her job. We celebrated by going out to dinner at our favorite steakhouse. She ordered her normal meal, thank God, and had a few drinks. I don't drink at all, so I was the designated driver for the evening. When we got home, we pretty much went right to bed, and on the way up the stairs, she drunkenly said, "Fuck that guy," and pointed a lazy hand at the stain on the wall. That night, I had a very strange dream. I dreamed I was trying to scrub the stain off the wall, just like I had a few days ago, but this time I was scrubbing in the dark. Moonlight was just barely seeping through the window and illuminating the outline of the stain, which looked more like a man than ever before. It loomed over me as I crouched there on the stairs, but then something weird happened. The wall underneath the stain turned mushy, like oatmeal, and gave way to my hand. My arm went right through the drywall. When I pulled it out, there was a faint light coming through the hole. I pushed more and more of the squishy wall away, and it crumbled and plopped onto the floor on the other side. At last, I cleared a hole big enough to squeeze through. It led to a familiar place. I realized where I was the second I stepped in. It was freezing cold, even in the dream. I was in the cellar of the cabin, where I'd found all those jars and that hair, where I'd found the pieces needed to make more dream catchers. I felt instantly afraid, and turned around to go back into my house, but the wall was sealed shut. The only way out of the cellar was through the open panels at the top of the wooden staircase, leading to the outside. Snow was falling down onto the stairs. I remember seeing something on the ground behind one of the shelves. I picked it up and instantly recognized its importance. It made me feel like I understood everything better, but before I could see what it was, I was woken up by Faye. We were still in bed. She was sitting up against the pillows, running her fingers across my neck and back. She was looking down at me, smiling. But her hair was dangling in such a way that it obscured her face a little, and the moon lit her up from the window behind her, so she looked different. I recognized my fiancée's hair and body, but her face looked old and weathered, like an old man's. At that point, I noticed her hand felt different too. It was rough and heavy, like a guy's. It took me a second to realize that she was probably asleep, so I sat still and just watched her. After a few moments of this, she abruptly got out of bed and walked to the door, mumbling to herself about that sound again. I followed her quietly, wondering what she'd do. She walked through the hall, never searching for the light switch, and stood at the top of the stairs. She started whisper arguing with something down there in the dark, like when a couple is bickering in public and they're trying to hide it. She said, "You need to leave. You need to get the fuck out of here and never come back." I don't know any of them. I don't know anybody. Is that you? Who's with you? Who's making all that noise? You just gonna stand down there and call my name all night? Well, why don't you come up here then? You think I don't know what you're doing? The last thing she said was, "We don't know. Leave us alone." She shouted it so loud it took me off guard and momentarily paralyzed me with fear. I rushed over and grabbed her before she could fall down the stairs. She told me to get off of her and that she didn't need help, then brushed past me toward the bedroom. Along the way, she vomited. I got to spend another hour trying to clean that up while she slept soundly. And guess what? New stain. It wasn't until writing this that I realized the stain has been making its way closer and closer to the bedroom. This morning before work, I talked to Faye about what happened. She had no recollection of any of it, including barfing up our expensive dinner, but she did say she heard several voices outside the house early this morning. She said there was a child calling out, "Where is she? Where is she?" and a man grumbling angrily, but she couldn't make out his words. She also said I was talking in my sleep this morning, which is something I almost never do. Faye agreed to seeing the doctor again because of the vomiting, and also mentioned to me, after reading the Reddit comments, that hypnotism might be a good thing to try. So we're looking for one in our town. More on that if anything develops. Also, her older sister Becca is going to come into town in a few days to visit us and see how things are going. Becca lives in Arizona with her husband and infant son, so I've only ever actually met her a handful of times. It'll be nice having some extra people in the house for once. In other news, Nathan is still not returning my calls, so I might try the Ranger tonight. I also want to let you all know that it's finals week, both for me as a graduate student and for the undergraduate students that I teach. I might not be able to update every other day like I usually do. If I'm missing for a day or two extra, don't be alarmed. I'm keeping a close watch on Faye. And I have one last thing to report. Today at lunch, I put my head down in my office and drifted off for a few minutes. This is also unusual for me because I'm a chronic insomniac and do not take naps almost ever. But I had another dream. Getaway came to me. For those of you who don't know, Getaway was a Native American man who lived near Pikes Peak. He and his son, Nathan, blessed our cabin and helped Faye and me in our struggle last month. He died in the woods under mysterious circumstances during my last nights at the cabin. In the dream, I was looking out of our bedroom window, and Getaway was standing at the tree line across the street. It was really him, not the creature that did a horrifying impersonation of him. He was pointing into the forest. I think I'm supposed to go in there, but I don't know whether I can trust my own dreams anymore. That's where the imposter hides. Also, an update. I literally got to work 30 minutes ago and got a call from Faye's boss. I'm on their emergency contact list. They sent her home for behaving erratically. I'm on my way home now. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Irrational Fears. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, anywhere that you can to get updates on Irrational Fears and the 31 Days of Horror. And I'll see you guys tomorrow so that we can find out together what scares you.